Our interview this afternoon is with Ona M Pawley. Uh, Ona was born in Terry County, Texas, in February of 1920. She served in the United States Navy in the Waves from 1942 until 1946. Her highest rank attained was Storekeeper second class. This interview, this interview is conducted at Burleson, Texas on Tuesday, November the 16th, 2010. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Ona. Also in the room is Milton Gibson, who is our videographer. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember, City of Burleson, Texas. And with that little interview, Ona, you can tell us your story of when you were in the Navy during the war.
I was working in Dallas, Texas, and next to our office was a recruiting office, Navy recruiting office. And so when I go in and out of our building, sometimes I'd pass the recruiting office. They talked to me and told me that I should go serve my country and go into the Waves. So I did enlist in the Waves, 1942, I guess. And from there, they sent all of us first ones to boot camp in New York City, which was in the Bronx. I stayed there 6 weeks, and I thought it was pretty rough training. Our captain, she always cleaned our room with white gloves. She'd reach on the bottom of the bed and clean the white slats with the slats with her white gloves to make sure we didn't leave any dust. And anyway, we liked her. She went into it was really cold New York City. She went into town. It was winter. She went into town with us once and thought we need some long underwear. She went and helped us choose some long underwear. Is this interesting?
Yes, ma'am.
And, so we got her long underwear, and we all made it fine. We thought we were having a little rough, though, about having to clean her apartment so precisely clean. But after I was there 6 weeks, they sent us to Milledgeville, Georgia. They thought we needed some extra training before we went to our regular job. So we went to Milledgeville, Georgia, where we had some classes and took some extra training. After 3 months there, they sent us to a job. They sent me to U.S. Naval Repair Base in San Diego, California. They sent different ones of us different places. Anyway, I was sent to the shipping department of the repair base, where our ship typed up we had to send out repairs to different ships and different bases. So the boys outside the office packed up our boxes of repairs. Then they brought in the list for me to type up the invoices. So I stayed pretty busy typing up invoices, sent along with the boxes. And we had a good boss. Mr. Hammond was our boss. Our commanding officer was upstairs. And one day we were having a little too much fun, and the commanding officer happened to be listening over the intercom. So he called down and corrected us. I guess that's when our boss was out. We'd always say, aye, sir. And let's see. Anyway, how long that's been there? I guess that's been over 2 years there. And I worked downstairs in the shipping department. We had most of the women worked upstairs. We had the men usually did the shipping out of the parts upstairs. So I didn't have to do any kind of shipping. I just typed the invoices. And my boss was out, I'd usually answer the phone, something like that. So then after there a while, the war ended. And oh, we were so glad that the war ended. We were so happy. And then after that, they told us we would be shipped home if we wanted to go, which we did. I guess that's about all I remember. Unless you want to ask anything else.
You bet. Let's, you were born in Terry County, Texas, and that's in way far west Texas.
Yes, it's about 50 miles southwest of Lubbock, Texas.
Okay. And what did your family do, Ona?
Well, Daddy was a farmer for quite a large part of time, and then he was voted to be a county commissioner. After that, for a while, they got him a little store near Lubbock, Texas. That's where they were when they died. That was their last job.
Okay.
Grocery store.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Oh yeah, I had two brothers. They both went in the military and the army, and none of my sisters did. But they stayed busy doing what they needed to do at home.
Did, when you were kids, did you help Dad on the farm?
Yes, we did. My dad believed in girls working. He didn't believe anybody should be lazy, so he'd have us get out there too and help. And
You grew cotton, I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah, cotton.
Did Dad have a tractor?
Oh, sure.
He did.
He had good equipment. He owned his farm. We didn't rent.
Uh-huh. Had the farm, did the farm belong to his father too?
No.
No?
No, Daddy and Mom paid down on it and paid it out, but make payments every year. Paid
Okay.
it out.
Okay. Okay, so when you went in the service, you were working in Dallas. How'd you get to Dallas?
Well, I was first working in Washington, D.C. for the War Production Board. Do you remember an organization like that?
okay.
I worked for War Production Board up there probably for a year. And then for some reason, I decided maybe I should get transferred to Dallas. It was the same organization, War Production Board, which I did. And then in Dallas, I decided to enlist in the Navy. The recruiting office, as I said, was right next to our office anyway.
Let me back up a second. You're a girl, you're 17, 18 years old, out there in West Texas. How do you hear about a job that gets you to Washington, D.C.? That was a big step for you.
Pretty good.
I guess you'd been to Lubbock. Had you been to Lubbock?
I went to Texas Tech College at Lubbock for almost 4 years, not quite. And well, in those days they were wanting, that was World War II, they were wanting a lot of women for helpers in Washington, D.C. So I took a civil service exam and passed it, of course. And they sent me telegrams saying I had a job in Washington, D.C. So I went.
And that was at the start of the war, I guess, Ona?
Yeah, I believe it was at the start of the war. Anyway, I went up to Washington, D.C., worked a year. It was a pretty good job, and I can't remember now just what the pay was. It wasn't a lot of pay, but it seemed pretty good then because the prices were different. And so I decided that I'd like to get transferred to Dallas in the same organization, which I did. I don't know whether I did right.
There for a girl of 20 or 22 years old in the early 40s, you had traveled a lot.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you see, I went to college a while, and I first taught in a little two-teacher school. My dad got for me. I wasn't enthusiastic, but he got it for me and said, your brother will have a better chance of getting it if you take it. And so I took it, and then after teaching there, I was qualified to teach in Brownfield, Texas, in town. So I was teaching in Brownfield. Oh, it seemed like I was teaching math to the 5th graders and 8th graders too. And the eighth graders, I don't know whether I should tell you this or not, they were a little hard to control. They just get up and walk around the room, and I couldn't get them to obey me. I guess I should have called a principal. But anyway, I finally, I guess I finally entered the waves. Went to Dallas, or went to Washington, D.C. to work first.
The Navy recruiter was right next door.
Yeah, they were next
and
door.
he just reached out there one day and said you should be in the Navy, and that's
yeah,
what
they
you
said
did.
you should be working for your country. So I decided I would.
So then you went for your basic, you went up to New York City.
Yes, in the Bronx.
Again, you're a girl, you're only 22, 23 years old, and you went to New York. How many girls were up there with you? How many girls were in your class?
In New York City, we lived in a room where there was about big room, 4 or 5 other girls, and of course, we had to, as I said, keep our room really clean so our officer could go around with white gloves and fill everything. But we had a marching band. If I had a picture of it here, I'd show it. Several of us in the marching band, and they said that our captain was really rough with us. She'd call idiots, morons, and all like that, because she wanted us to be good marchers. She wanted us to win the Excellence Award, which is the best.
What instrument did you play, Ona?
Pardon?
What instrument did you play?
Oh, I didn't play any instrument. No.
Oh, you didn't? But
No.
you were in a marching band.
Yeah, we had to march to the music
Oh,
and
okay.
sing, and sing too. Sing some ridiculous songs as we marched along. And
Did you march on a city street, or did they have like a parade ground for
no,
you?
it wasn't a city street. No, it was just more of a country type area. Seemed like where we marched, and she really called us idiots and so forth to get us to march really good. And we did. We won the Excellence Award, best on the base. We should have, though.
Did they give you some extra time off because you won that award?
Oh,
No?
no. And what else? And they chose about 3 people to be, what do they call it, a flag bearer. What is they call the one who put up the flag? Chose 3 or 4 of us to put up the flag every day, and I happened to be one of them. So I learned flag procedure. And anyway,
Did you go downtown? Did you go to Manhattan?
only time we did, I guess we did, when we went with our commanding officer. She wanted, it was so cold, she said she thought she needed to go with us to choose some long underclothing, which she did.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know where we went, but it was in a store somewhere. She may have taken us to Manhattan.
They gave did you have weekends off, Ona?
Oh, no. We didn't have weekends off. When we left there, we went to Milledgeville, Georgia. And in Milledgeville, Georgia, we stayed there 3 months. I think in Milledgeville, Georgia, we had 1 weekend off. We went in about 3-day pass, went into Augusta and stayed in the hotel for 3 days, and which was a treat for us all.
You you went to New York in 1942. When was the next time that you went home to Terry County?
Well, I first went to Dallas and got transferred from New York to Dallas. I don't know, sometime when I was in Dallas, I think I worked in Dallas a while, or 2. So I don't know exactly when it would have been, how long I worked in Dallas before I did go home.
But you got to see Mom and Dad sometime during the war?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went
Okay,
home.
you got to go home for that. Okay. In Milledgeville, you were there for 3 months. Just advanced school?
Yeah, I remember we had a math class, and some of us got pretty good in it, and one woman was especially good. She didn't even have to study. But one young woman and I, we weren't that way, and we'd ask questions about things in class, but she never said a word because she knew everything. Anyway,
Did they teach you how to be a storekeeper?
no, they didn't.
No.
And I wasn't really a storekeeper. That's my title. But the men upstairs were the ones that kept all our equipment and gave out the equipment when it was needed.
Okay. When you left Milledgeville to go to San Diego,
Yeah.
how'd you get to San Diego? You ride the train?
I think I did, yeah. We rode trains more in those days.
But you were used to riding the train because you'd already been to Washington and New
Yeah,
York.
I took a train to Washington. See, when I first took a train to Washington, I had a tonsillectomy. Daddy said, "You're a little weak, you better take a train with a berth." So I did. I took a train with a berth. And I didn't like that. Can't even stretch out your legs. It sounded better, though. And I got up there, and they told me to report to a certain place. I reported to this place where a lady from the Bronx reported too, and they told us to walk over certain place, and we would be assigned to our job. Well, I walked over there with this lady from the Bronx, and when I'd say something, she'd grin, and we had different accents.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting, though.
What sort of uniforms did you have
I
on?
had a navy blue. My navy blue one was my dress uniform. Then I had summer. Well, let me see. Really, my white uniform was the most dressy. The navy one was what we wore every day. And then in summer we had a little different kind of uniform, more of a white and blue striped. A little different kind of hat in summer.
Were the summer uniforms made out of cotton?
Yes, they were.
Okay,
But
and
they-
winter blues were wool?
Yes, they were. And the Navy's pretty good about taking care of. We just sent our wool things out to the cleaners, but we had to wash all our white shirts. Wash and iron all our white shirts. Wasn't too much fun to do that.
You ate in the mess hall.
Oh yes,
What'd you think about Navy chow?
it was kind of fun in a way. Some of it was compared to Southern food. When I go through the line on a holiday, sometimes they'd have some white slimy looking stuff on my plate, and I didn't know what it was. I finally decided it was supposed to be called dressing, like chicken and dressing.
Not quite what your mom made.
Not anything like what we made. Didn't even know what it was first.
What'd you have for breakfast?
Oh, it seemed like we always had scrambled eggs. We wanted them. We went through this chow line, of course. It seemed like we had scrambled egg juice, kind of food we have here.
Okay. That's interesting that you compare this to what you did in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you went to San Diego. Did you live on the base in San Diego?
Well, first we didn't live on the base. They had us in barracks. For some reason, they didn't have us live on the base at first because they didn't have our barracks built. So they sent us to some barracks on Coronado Island. And we lived there several months, and we'd take a bus over from Coronado into San Diego every day to our job. And finally, they built us some barracks over on the base land. And so we started living in the barracks then.
Were they pretty fancy?
Oh, no. Were you in service?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew they weren't fancy. No, there were 4 in what we call a cubicle. You have cubicles in yours?
When I started, it was an open bay barracks.
Yeah, well, these cubicles, 4 in a cubicle, but it was pretty open at the bottom, open, and an open door. But you could kind of see in other people's cubicles if you happen to look out. And what was interesting to me, wasn't any fun, was a homosexual woman was in there. Did you have any homosexuals in your...
No, ma'am.
We thought she's homosexual, and when I'd get dressed, she'd stare over there, and I believe she was homosexual the way she acted. And they kind of considered her having her moving out, I think, but they finally let her stay in. And just a woman, kind of big, husky-looking woman. And let's see, but the rest of us weren't very particular. We'd take a shower and just go home and dress. I wouldn't be paying attention to what they look like. They wouldn't pay attention to what I looked like. Only one did was that woman looked like a homosexual, acted like a homosexual.
She wouldn't have worked out in West Texas, would she?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you, was the big red and white hotel there at Coronado when you were there?
Yeah, that hotel was there. That was that nice hotel. I forgot
Still
the
is.
name of it, yeah.
Coronado.
Yeah, Coronado Hotel. Yeah, I had the opportunity to go in there. It's kind of old. When I went to it with another lady, and he said, "Let's go in the coffee room," and that's where I thought we were going. And she took me into the bar. I said, "I thought we were going in the coffee room." She said, "They don't even have a coffee room here."
Was going into the bar for a woman, was that unusual?
Unusual for me.
Unusual for
Very
you.
unusual for me. That's the reason I said to her, I thought we were going in the coffee room. She said, "Well, they don't have a coffee room here."
Did you, when you were working, you had a regular job, you typed the invoices and what have you. So you had off on weekends?
Well, we couldn't go anywhere, but except when some sailors would invite us somewhere at night, maybe. Sometimes sailors invited us to a little party that came in from the ocean. They wanted to have a party with the waves. And one night I went to this party for the waves, and it seemed like I kind of was interested in it and got several together. I said, "Let's go to a party." Well, got there, practically everybody was drunk. It was so kind of disappointing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you ever go to the San Diego Zoo?
I don't think I did, which I should have done. That's considered a very good zoo.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You worked in a big office. You did the invoices. You supplied parts to the fleet, I guess?
Yeah, we did. We sent out repair parts to other ships and other bases. That was our specialty, having repair parts for them. So some of the fellows outside the office did the packing up of all the repair parts, and then come in with a list of what they packed up and get me to type up an invoice.
Some of these little bitty parts and some great big
Yeah,
parts?
different parts. And the men upstairs were the one that took care of all the parts. And I guess but I know the one man right outside our office did a lot of packing up of them, because he'd come in our office giving a list of the invoices, giving a list of everything was in it. So I typed up the invoice. One day I unexpectedly saw that man a long time after, and I recognized him, but I was having such a terrible sickness with my shingles. I had to rush away to take care of my shingles. I had such a bad case of shingles, I thought I was about going to die.
You you mentioned you were there until the war was over, and you have feelings about when the war was over. You were so happy when the war was over.
Yeah, we were, all of us.
Do you remember the day that the war was over in Europe? VE Day?
Yeah, I kind of faintly remember. Everybody was happy about that.
Yeah. But then I guess your business picked up when the war picked up in the Pacific.
Probably did.
Do you know exactly what you were doing when you heard that the war was over? Huh?
I don't know just exactly, but I remember when they announced it, several of us just walked down the hall cheering. The war was over.
Those pictures about people hugging each other and what have you?
Well, didn't remember that, but we were all
You weren't much of a hugger, huh?
Yeah, we were very much happy.
You bet.
And I imagine all the men were. Everybody was.
Yeah.
Because that war news, that got boresome, didn't it? Having to hear all that war
I had
news.
two brothers in the Army.
Sure. One brother, my older brother, went to Europe. And I can't remember exactly where it was, but he had worked in the post office with the mail, and so they put him in mail work too. And my younger brother, he went to layoffs and I don't know where, all kinds of uncivilized places, and they put him. He had been a radio repairman, so they put him in radio work.
Yeah, we're fine. Went all through the service. You traveled a whole bunch. You get married somewhere along the line?
No, not when I was in service. No.
Not when you were in the service?
No.
You got married after you got out of the service?
Yeah, sometime
Okay.
later. I went with. Of course, you had a chance to have dates in the military. A lot of men around, but it seemed like they weren't men like the men from home. They seemed different. I wasn't too interested because they didn't seem like type I've been used to being around.
So when you got married, do you go back to West Texas to get married?
Yeah, that's where it was. That's where it was.
And you retired out there, Ona, in West Texas? Did you stay out there?
I guess I did. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have children?
No, we lived
No.
in New Mexico. I can tell you one little experience I had. On a when we were in Milledgeville, we were sent on a 3-day, given a 3-day pass, so we went to Augusta, Georgia, spent 3 nights in a hotel. And the 3 or 4 of us went together there on our pass, and one of them disappointed me. She says, "I'm going to get drunk, or are you all going to get drunk?" I said, "Well, I'm not." That kind of disappointed me about Dorothy, although I really liked her.
It was disappointing, but you got to see the other side of the world. You grew up there in West Texas where people didn't drink.
No.
You all went to church every Sunday, I suspect.
Yeah, my dad and brothers never did bring home any alcoholic drink,
Yeah.
which we appreciated that.
So then when you got out in the world, you saw that there were some other people who didn't do things that same
That's
way.
the truth. Sure saw a lot of drunk sailors at night in San Diego.
Well, they're still there.
If I'd go into town, they're still there.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yep.
imagine, yeah.
You remember Dorothy. You just mentioned Dorothy. Any other people that you remember particularly from when you were in the service, Ona?
I remember one called Ada. One reason I remember Ada, we worked together at the same base, and she was I didn't drink, and Ada was always wanting me to go out with her to have a little drink. And I didn't want to. I didn't drink anything. So I finally kind of lost myself from Ada.
Did I guess some of the other girls would go out and drink Coke or Pepsi or have ice cream sodas?
I think some of the other girls would stop in at some restaurant that had little drinks, and I think some of them would have little drinks. They didn't see anything wrong with that. One young girl who was close to me in the barracks said, "Why, my mother sends me $1 and tells me go out and have a little drink." She thought it strange I wouldn't.
You were a second class
Yeah.
toward the end of the war. So did you have any other people who worked for you?
No, I guess they didn't work for me. My boss was Mr. Hammond, very nice man. But there were others in our office, but they didn't work for me. They kind of worked along with me. One was a man, and one was a young girl called Ida May. She took care of the files in our office. I usually took care of the typing and typing up of the invoices and answer the phone when my boss wasn't there.
Do you remember how much money you made, say, at the end of the war?
When I was in the war,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't much. It wasn't much, but we didn't need much. We had our food supplied for us, and we had our uniforms supplied for us, and so we didn't need much money. But it certainly wasn't much, but it was about all we needed.
Did you ever go on a ship?
Oh, yeah. One time, some of our officers were having to take out some supplies 80 miles out to another base or ship. And they told us that since we were in the Navy, we should have experience of going on the ship. So we went out on the ship. And when I got on it, I started vomiting.
Uh-oh.
And of course, the sailors all laughed at me because I vomited. So that was quite an experience.
Did you go out? You went out 80 miles?
Yes, 80 miles
Okay.
out. And I just thought we should have that experience.
That was just one day, I guess?
Yes, just one time.
You remember what kind of ship it was? It was a big ship, I guess.
It was a really big ship, one of the biggest.
Okay.
Gray, they're not a bit pretty, just all gray inside, you know. You've probably been on one.
When you went on this ship, could you stand up?
I think I could.
Okay.
I tried to some when I wasn't vomiting.
Ona, you've certainly given us a different story. We've never talked to a lady who served during the war, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us. I've enjoyed your story.
Thank
I
you.
think everyone who sees it will enjoy your story. We appreciate your time in the service, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.